We came here 2 years ago, in 2016. We came here on election day.
The Syrians cannot be allowed to come in, folks. We don't know who the hell they are. We don't know who they are.
We was scared, nervous a little bit, worried this will be the president. It was a hard decision to come here without my mother. But
it's been 2 years since President Trump first introduced the travel ban, and 6 months since it was permanently upheld by the Supreme Court. We're just now starting to better understand the effects of how it's being implemented. Like, what happens to families that were separated? Families like Issa and Amina's, half of whom made it into the U.S. before the ban was announced, and half who weren't as lucky, and are still waiting in Jordan. Is there anything at all they can do?
How are you? Good?
This Faisal also, when he baby in Syria.
Oh my God.
We came to U.S. because we thought it's more safe, good future for the kids, good education. It was very scared there, not safe.
You haven't seen some of your family in over 2 years.
Yeah.
Who is still in Jordan?
Still in Jordan, my mom and one sister, one brother, they are single. And other brother, he has 6 kids. They have cases to come here. They have many interviews we did. And they just wait.
When you left for the U.S., did you think that you would end up being separated from your mother and other members of your family for over 2 years now?
No. We thought it's like a few months they will come.
When the government defended its latest version of the ban in front of the Supreme Court, they argued the ban included a waiver, which would allow people from banned countries to receive visas in compelling cases. The hope for the administration was to prove that the ban wasn't outright discrimination against Muslims. And in theory, the criteria for the waiver is pretty generous, like having close relatives in the U.S., facing undue hardship, or even having business ties. But in practice, lawyers and refugee resettlement experts say the process is opaque, confusing, and rarely actually being implemented.
Well, we've seen almost nobody come through the waiver system. It's a joke, it's a sham, just not being implemented, and people's lives are suffering as a result.
On February 26th, the State Department released new information on how many people from banned countries were actually being granted waivers. A spokesperson told me that 2,673 applicants had been cleared for a waiver by the end of January 2019. But at the same time, the U.S. rejected more than 37,000 people from banned countries. So the Trump administration is getting sued for the waivers in a case called Imami versus Nielsen.
The government is saying that they are making these waiver determinations at the interview or based on a conversation with the applicant. If you've had your interview well before the proclamation went into effect, it means that you haven't had any chance at all to express to the consular official that you have a certain hardship that should be taken into account. So what the Imami versus Nielsen case does is it challenges the government's failure to enact a good faith waiver process that people can actually access.
In September, the administration tried to get the class action suit thrown out by arguing that the court didn't have authority over individual waiver decisions and that the plaintiffs didn't have enough standing to bring equal protection and due process claims. The State Department reaffirmed to me that there was a process through which consular officials reviewed cases to determine eligibility. But in early February, a U.S. District Court judge rejected the government's bid, referencing a former consular officer saying, quote, "There really is no waiver."
Even if you take the government's words at face value that a consular official is making this decision based on the criteria, they don't actually have the information they might need to make that decision. Like they're going to look at a visa application that's only about the bona fides of your relationship with your spouse, for example, and then somehow magically be able to discern whether you have a particular hardship.
That's the case for Issa's family. His mother is sick, and they have close relatives in the U.S. And as refugees, they do face undue hardship. But because they did their interviews back in 2014, lawyers say they have very few avenues to demonstrate eligibility for the new criteria for a waiver announced in 2017.
رحتي على الدكتور؟ رحتي على الدكتور؟
A situation like this, where there's a family member who's really ailing and who's separated from their entire family, that should be a classic case where a waiver should be granted.
But like thousands of other families, it's a waiting game for Issa and Amina, clinging to memories as the hope begins to fade.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.